Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second annual Bill Gross Business Plan Competition. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to you. My name is Farina. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Caltech. And I'd like to also offer a warm welcome to the alumni that are joining through the live stream. For the first time, we have a live stream, so welcome to you. I'm also an alum, like many of you here. So this is the second time we do this competition, and I'd like to also add a few words about the various entrepreneurship programs we have at Caltech now. It has changed over the last few years. We have several things going, including an internal venture fund to support companies coming at Caltech. We have great entrepreneurs in residence to support entrepreneurs here at Caltech who want to start companies. We have an incubator space now a few hundred yards from here on Del Mar that's housing currently 12 startups at a Caltech. We're working on a new, larger building, 120,000 square foot building on Green Street that will house, among other things, anchor tenants, hopefully in the pharma area, and also a life science incubator. Part of these programs include an internship program for students in the summer. And one of them is a Bill Gross summer program. Thank you, Bill, again, for supporting this program. And the other one is a Tim Ryan program. And both of them support students who want to explore either their own ideas or want to work in a startup during the summer. And so all this ecosystem is growing. And of course, today's event is the Bill Gross Business Plan Competition. In the last 2 years, we received over 150 submissions for this. Incredible, novel, interesting ideas from students. And in this year alone, we got over 70 submissions. And today, you will see presentations from our 9 finalists. And so it's been pretty amazing to see the outpouring of new ideas from the Caltech students. You know, the culture's changed over the years. You go back 10, 15, 20 years, and there wasn't this vibrant atmosphere and excitement for entrepreneurship. So we're really excited about that. So today, we'll have a panel of judges that will be judging the competition and then awarding the winners, the top 3. And also the audience and the live streamers will be able to vote for the fan favorite. It will have a QR code, and then we'll be allowed to pick your favorite team. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to thank again Bill Gross for making this possible, and on to you, Bill.
Well, thank you, Fred, and thanks to all of you. I'm so excited to hear all of your ideas. It's really a great time to be alive if you're an entrepreneur or you have an idea that wants to change the world. I think back to when I was graduating from Caltech, how challenging it was to find supporters of ideas, because it really wasn't expected that people just graduating from college could become successful entrepreneurs, but now that's kind of commonplace. And in addition, think about how the world is so connected and how much impact you can have over such a large range. I think back to Leonardo da Vinci during the Renaissance. His ideas, his notebook, his incredible sketches, all of his ideas could only reach as far as he could go on a horse. So maybe his ideas could reach to Rome or maybe to Milan from Florence. But your ideas can touch anybody on the planet. That's just really incredible time to be thinking about ways to make the world a better place. So I really look forward to hearing your ideas, how we can help leverage them to make a positive impact on the world. And I'm really, really pleased that so many great ideas have turned out today. I want to introduce you to our 3 great judges. First, Oliver Lawson. He's the VP of Business Operations at Hala Clara. Oliver, thank you. Second, S.K. Sharma. He's the Chief AI Officer, now retired, from Universal Music Group. Thank you, S.K. And Nicole Toussaint. She's the Associate at 10110 Ventures. So these 3 judges are going to be looking at your ideas and judging them on 7 different categories. They are your concept clarity, your problem and impact, your solution and value proposition, market potential, your competition and differentiation, your team and pitch quality, and your milestones and your use of funds. So think through as you're presenting how you can knock it out of the park on all of those dimensions. They'll be scoring you on those and also additional emotional things. So pour your heart out in your presentation about your love for your idea, your passion for it, and we really look forward to hearing from you. So with that, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming up with these great ideas. I'll turn it over to Maral to tell you about the details of the schedule for today.
Hey everyone, I'm Maral. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting us for the second business plan competition. We're excited to have you here. As Fred mentioned, you'll be hearing from 9 teams today. Each pitch is going to be 5 minutes long, and then it'll be followed by 3 minutes of Q&A from the judges. And then following the presentations, you guys will hear from past winners and what they've accomplished this past year. And we're doing something new where you can vote for your fan favorite. So please be sure to stay and vote. And then let's see, after that, we have the reception and the prize announcement. That'll be around 3:50. And if you're a competitor and can't stay for the awards, please let a staff member know. And then also, once again, these pitches are being recorded, so it'll be available on YouTube after the event. And then before we begin, I would like to ask you all to please silence your cell phones. Thank you very much. And then with that, I think we can start. And I would like to welcome up the first team, Natrium Labs, who'll be presenting on their dietary supplement to regulate sodium consumption.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yameng Zhang. I'm a grad student in neurobiology at Caltech. My PA and I co-found Natrium Lab. So this is the first and only company works on sodium appetite, and we aim to reduce the high sodium intake spontaneously. So let me highlight a critical but overlooked problem in our daily life. We are consuming far more sodium than we need every day. So here's the data. On a global scale, the average sodium intake is twice of what WHO recommended. And in US, over 90% of the population exceeds this threshold. And high sodium has been causally linked to hypertension, renal failure, and even stroke. So in US, more than 120 million people have high blood pressure and under elevated risk of cardiovascular disease. So this is why sodium reduction is not just important, it's urgent. At Natrium Labs, we are trying to address this need with a science-based daily supplement approach. Despite some proactive health individuals trying to stick to the lower sodium options, the general salt consumption remains persistently high. Currently, there is no way to address the biological drivers behind this preference and craving. And according to our market research, 70% of the consumers are trying to stick to a healthier diet, but they fail to do so because the low sodium diet is not satisfying and they have a strong crave for the salty food. So the pain point here is not just access to lower sodium options, it's to make these options more satisfying and more sustainable. So Natrium Lab is developing a novel neural-targeted supplements to address this unmet need. This graph illustrates dopamine levels. This is a word signal, and this dopamine level will vary when high sodium food is consumed under different hormone conditions. So based on our published research and filed patent, we have identified a specific neural pathways that modulate our perception to sodium. And by targeting these molecules and receptors, we can make people crave less sodium food. There are 80 million US adults that are actively seeking to prevent or reduce high blood pressure. Assuming a 5% market penetration rate, this will yield a tenable market of over $2 billion per year. And importantly, this $45 per month subscription is trivial compared to a $65,000 procedure due to the heart failure. So our product designed not to just improve health outcomes, but to do so early, accessibly, and affordably. We have already completed market research and collected rodent data. With the current formula, we successfully reduced the sodium intake in mice by half. And by July, we will finalize our formula and conduct small-scale human tests. So the human test is not required for any supplements, but we insist to do so due to the quality of our products. And we will start to marketing and release the product via e-commerce through the partnership with Clinical Institute. And our goal is to launch commercially by early next year, and this lays the groundwork for future product lines spinned out from our lab based on the same platform. We are currently seeking for seed funding, and this includes SBIR grants, and we are also talking to Caltech internal seed fund. And funds will be used most in the manufacturing and marketing sections. What makes Natrium Lab unique is our science-driven formulation and our strong team with deep expertise in the neuroscience, taste biology, and translational research. We are also recruiting more doctors from UCLA to bring more expertise in the cardiovascular field. At Natrium Lab, we believe the future of preventive health is not just about restriction, it's about changing how the body perceives and experiences the food. So we combine neuroscience with consumer health, and we create a new kind of supplements that helps people eat better, naturally and sustainably. And I want to thank my mentor, Will, and also thank Jay and Isabel in the OCT office, and thank Bill for this chance. And thank everyone for your time. We are excited to bring this vision to life with the right partner. Thanks.
Judges, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Yaming, for highlighting this very important problem. I liked some of the things that you said around really taking a scientific and specific focus, right? I guess some of the questions that I have are predicated on a couple things. So the first is, did I understand you correctly where the human test not required for supplement, but it's just something that's there to confer additional validation, is that right? So if so, is the idea that you're looking at the direct-to-consumer channel, is that how you want to actually market the supplement?
So we are targeting a hormone level and the receptor. So the interesting about this idea is what we are targeting is outside the blood-brain barrier. So the molecule can directly act on this. And so these, the compounds we are used for the supplements, they are already safe approved, and we can find it with the right manufacturer. So.
Do you intend to sell directly to consumers?
Yes, we are thinking about that. And then the second step may be B2B. It's hard to directly sell to the business or clinics. Yeah.
And do you have a sense of what your sort of manufacturing costs are going to look like? And has that started? I mean, is this a GMP question, a GLP question eventually, or is it pretty, verified manufacturing processes?
Verified, outsourced to the manufacturers.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, great presentation, and it's a great problem, right?
Yeah.
I may have missed it. Can you just expand a little bit on what this supplement is? Is it something you mix in water? Tell us a little bit more about that, and if at all possible, how you're modulating this hormonal system that you just referenced.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So it's in that paper, we identified a neural pathway that can modulate people's taste perception to the sodium. So there are already molecules proved to downregulate that hormones by the current product. And we screened all the molecules and mixed in a new formula. And we tested the formulation itself is much more efficient than the specific ingredients. And with this, we want to do capsule, but tea bag is also an option. Yeah.
Thank you. And so the levels at which these supplements would be found in your product,
Mm-hmm.
have you thought about whether they would require regulatory sort of scrutiny?
Yes.
Because you're maybe enhancing one component more over another.
Yeah, so I think the most strict regulation part is the manufacturer, and we will outsource to the good standard manufacturers. So yeah, it won't be a big problem for the supplements for regulatory. Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next up, I'd like to invite Matterware and their AI-assisted chip design software.
Hi everyone, we are Matterware. My name is Volkan Gürses, my co-founder's name is Robert George, and we are both PhD students at Caltech. I'm in a chip design group in Ali Ajmi's group, and Robert is in a machine learning group in Animan Antkumar's group. And we are here to pursue the idea for AI for chip design. As you may all know, software keeps accelerating, keeps going at an accelerated pace, and generative AI and the current machine learning products are the next paradigm in the software evolution. While that's happening in the software industry, we believe that the software for chip design has mainly stagnated over the course of the last 20 years. And we believe at Caltech we are in a unique position and have the right timing to allow chip design software to catch up to this evolution. One, I guess, brief example to show to kind of emphasize this stagnation issue. If you look at the normal software for software development and other workflows, we went from basically automation that went from just giving hard-coded answers and whatnot to complete bots that can do the workflows for you. For chip design, workflows have remained mainly the same. You can see on the bottom a main software for chip design, Cadence Virtuoso. The front end and the back end processes have mainly remained the same. And this basically performance efficiency gap is clearly visible in the costs incurred in the advanced nodes in chip design. At the process nodes from like 2010 to 2025, the software has started to incur more than 60% of the costs in a single chip. So we believe this basically benefited greatly the current incumbents, where their revenues have increased exponentially over the course of the last 10 years. And these giants are Synopsys and Cadence. And we believe these new tools are bringing the right time to disrupt this duopoly. And after doing a brief market research and talking to some of the executives and engineers at chip companies, we see there is a demand that basically we can bring these novel tools and try to automate a lot of the tedious tasks in chip design workflows. If you look at from the top-down view, our market size in general, semiconductor sales are around $600 billion of sales annually, and then 50 billion of that goes into chip design software. We believe we hope to penetrate around 0.2% of that market to get to around 100 million annual recurring revenue. And from the bottom-up approach, we have a plan to gain a beachhead in the market by charging 10 times less than what the big EDA companies charge to big chip companies. And then we're going to start by targeting small chip startups that cannot afford to pay these like high costs. And with this, we aim to also get there on the revenue mark that we want to achieve. So this is our software briefly in action. On the left, you can see a chip designer colleague of mine who's trying to design a photonic chip component. You can see the progress bars for this design on the top. On the right, we have our own software that can autonomously design this component 10 times faster than what the chip designer could. And with this, we hope to basically achieve 10x faster chip design with 10x lower cost, so that we can democratize the chip design software from big chip companies to all chip startups. Our differentiation is we want to basically leverage the expertise in two very deeply specialized fields, kind of combining our expertise with chip design and machine learning, and also leveraging the basically large and diverse chip design IP and data sets at Caltech with permission from Caltech. We believe we can train models that can outperform the other products by these big chip EDA giants in the long run. Our milestones are basically with an hopefully initial prize money investment. We want to roll out a product that can aid chip designers in their chip design workflows. And we want to get to 10 customers to hopefully an 100K ARR, annual recurring revenue. And then from this revenue, we want to scale to a point where we start to train our own models and roll out hopefully foundation models for chip design and start competing with big EDA giants. So this brings us to an opportunity to invest in bringing some of the new software tools and the revolution to chip design software. We believe we're at the right time and unique position to bring Caltech IP and expertise into this domain. And we believe we have the expertise in two very specialized fields that many other companies do not. And with this, we hope to disrupt the duopoly that's available in the market and democratize chip design software. If you have any, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, we can take them.
Thank you for the presentation and very timely. This is a very timely presentation, so thank you. You mentioned the incumbents, but there's definitely some startups. Are there any startups that you have in your mind that you're looking out for? And my second question is, you mentioned that with Caltech IP, you can use that information to train the model. Is there any other type of sources that you use, and how do you capture all the knowledge that is in the people's heads? I forget the word for that. That is one of the big problems for this chip design companies to actually train models.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Yeah, there are a few startups that have come out in the last few years. I know a few like Silomate and some other stuff in Y Combinator. We believe that their focus is on certain chips that are like in the digital design and sort of verification side of things. We believe we also have IP in the RFIC and photonic chip side of things that those companies do not. And the IP at Caltech is particularly excels in this because there are a lot of research going on in those domains. So we want to differentiate ourselves from those startups by targeting those verticals in the chip industry. What was the second question, if I missed that?
Yeah, the second was about how do you capture tribal knowledge? That is one
Right.
of the big parts of chip design.
Yeah, so I think as a start, we want to leverage the current research and the IP that's happening at Caltech, but in the long run, we hope to also basically gather more data and measurements by taping out chips and measuring them so that we can feed more data into our models. That also brings us a good opportunity to turn basically this idea into sort of an IP company as well, so we can verify our designs and also license our IP to big chip companies in the long run.
Thank you very much. I love the idea of disrupting the EDA duopoly, right? I mean, that's wonderful. One of the things that I was curious about is, are you in a position with your early model? The early model is a subscription model, right? I think you said 10,000, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But are you in a position to actually start to capture more of the value that you're creating? Because the concern that I might have, and I'd love to see how you guys are thinking about this, is all of a sudden you have a recurring subscription model, right? It's very easy for companies to get locked into, I'm only going to pay this much because this is the value that I see that's being created, right? So any thoughts on how that relationship can change so that you're able to extract more value?
Yeah, so actually the current negotiations and the pricing model for the big EDA giants kind of go on. There's not a set price in their subscriptions. There's usually like a negotiation that happens within the chip design company and the EDA company. So we can follow a similar kind of structure based on the needs that the chip company has. We can adjust their licensing fee based on how many designs, how many tape outs they do per year. But the one thing that we want to still differentiate ourselves with, we believe that there's a lot of secrecy in basically setting the prices for these basically EDA software. We want to kind of put some relief onto that secrecy and put our price up front so that people don't need to negotiate and like go to these channels. But I think the final solution is going to be having open basically like negotiation and like putting prices on our website and everything throughout the process.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Matterware.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Nexa Labs, and they'll be presenting on their minimally invasive microchips for veterinary health monitoring.
All right, so hey everyone, thanks a ton for coming. My name is Zarif, and I'm co-founder of Nexa. So we want to empower farmers to understand, manage, and then capitalize on the health of their livestock. Because look, globally right now, farmers are losing about $400 billion to livestock health issues. And when I say livestock right now, we're talking mostly about cattle. So just like us humans get sick, cattle get sick, they spread disease to one another, they grow less, they die, and in the process, farmers are losing money. Now, to date, we've talked to about 70 farmers all across the US, and we've learned that the vast majority, they monitor their animals' health through a manual subjective process where they pretty much just kind of look at cows to see if they're sick. That takes a lot of time, and as you can imagine, it doesn't actually catch health issues before they start spreading and devastating these large herds. And existing technology here is not much of a step up. There are these external wearable collars and ear tags, but they sit outside thick animal skin, so they can't actually collect useful data or deliver meaningful insights. There's also these sort of smart pills, but these have these large batteries that cows are supposed to swallow. And from the farmers we've talked to, we've learned that folks don't want to do that, and it causes regulatory hurdles. So our solution then is a comprehensive livestock health monitoring system with minimally invasive hardware that tracks the health of cattle in near real time. We want to turn that health data into meaningful insights for farmers, like early disease detection or telling a farmer, hey, this cow family is doing healthy, you should breed it more, or hey, this family is consistently sick, maybe you shouldn't breed it anymore. Now, critically, the whole process should have a low burden of adoption so farmers can scale up the whole system quickly. So what we've been building out at Nexa centers on an injectable microchip, a small device about 4 by 50 millimeters that can fit inside a standard animal syringe and be injected at the base of cattle ear just underneath their skin. Now keep in mind that cattle already get injected with vaccines about twice per year. This microchip collects animal health data in near real time, sends it to a small module just outside the ear. That module can take the data, send it to the cloud, and we can start delivering value for farmers from day one. So our initial approach is to go after early disease detection. For example, bovine respiratory disease, which is the costliest and most common cattle health issue. We estimate that just with the first version of our product, we can increase profits for an average large cattle operation by up to 15%. In the future, we'll go after more animals like horses and pets, as well as increase the range of diseases that we can detect. And so this is a massive market, even just looking at cattle operations here in the US. We're looking at about a $10 billion market, and in the first few years, we think we can do revenue of about $100 million, give or take. As we expand to Canada, Mexico, and internationally, and expand the number of animals that we can track, those numbers will obviously only increase. And so we are delivering value to farmers by saving them time and money so we can charge hardware and recurring software costs for that. But with our technology, we're also going to be collecting the world's largest livestock health data set, which we can monetize in many ways. We can sell the data to cattle insurers so they can offer farmers flexible rates. We can sell it to livestock pharma so that they can do clinical trials of their therapeutics better, so they can deliver better antibiotics and treatments for cattle. So once we have this data, the possibilities are endless. So far, we've built out early prototypes of our product, we're patent pending, and we have an agreement with Cal Poly Pomona to test our device on their cattle this upcoming summer, 2025. We're also proud to have already partnered with some awesome investors who've helped give us some activation capital, if you will. From the fall, once we validated our device, we're gonna start our go-to-market with a regional network-based approach, and that'll take us through this fall and early into next year. So look, we're a diverse team, but our backgrounds are in biology, AI, and hardware at some of the nation's top research labs and startups. We're also advised by Dr. Gakara, the head of Cal Poly's Livestock Research Institute. And so look, the current players in the space, they're these slow-moving companies that are going for the technical low-hanging fruit, these wearable external monitors. We're from Caltech. We can move fast, iterate our technology rapidly, and actually deliver solutions that matter. We've talked to farmers. We know that the current tech doesn't cut it. We know that they have low adoption, so we can be poised to bring a product that can actually make an impact and capture a large percentage of the market. So today, as I mentioned, we're already backed by some investors who are really excited to have on our cap table. They've backed some of the leading deep tech companies out there, like Northwood, K2, Varda Space, and more. We're seeking to round out this activation fundraise so we can do our trials and start our go-to-market. For example, we want to get out to as many livestock conferences as we can to get in front of as many farmers as we can. We hope you're as excited about Nexa as we are, and we'd love to answer any questions. Thanks.
Judges, do you have any questions?
Yeah, great energy. Thanks for it. I want to hear more about it. My question is, when talking to the farmers, how much of the kinds of things that you guys would be detecting in the cattle are things that they would treat? I suspect that there are some aspects, some kind of problems that would just lead to the animal sacrifice. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you might be able to help them with that.
Of course. So here's the deal, right? When a cow gets sick, a farmer essentially has two options, right? One is you treat the animal. So when we're talking about bovine respiratory disease, your sort of standard antibiotic, it can range from $50 to $150. So a farmer can either treat them or, as you mentioned, just kill off the animal. Now, when you're at a small scale of disease, like let's say 2 out of your 1,000 cattle are sick, that's fine. You can just kill them off. You don't want to treat them. The issue comes when the disease starts spreading to 5, 10, 15, 20, 30% of your herd. Then if you kill off 30% of your herd, you're losing a bunch of money. If you go to spend the money to treat all of them, you're also losing a bunch of money. And so that is where our tech really brings value. If you can detect disease earlier when it's at 2 cattle instead of 30% of your herd, you can either just kill them off or treat them, do whatever you want. The issue comes when it spreads. Just for some context, now the data on this is not so good because cattle health data is not collected widely, but on your very much averaged out sort of cattle operation in the US, just talking about bovine respiratory disease, somewhere between 5 and 45% of cattle will be actively infected. Call it in the middle, let's say it's 20%. Even that is a daily problem that farmers deal with. It's not like an earthquake insurance where it's once every 3 years something goes wrong. This is an active problem that folks deal with, and that's what we've come to learn from talking to them.
Quick question on product roadmap and evolution. So this goes
on
into
what? Sorry.
Product roadmap and product evolution. So as I understand it, this is technology that's come out of Wei Gao's lab, right? So there's, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was going to say, just to be clear, we are a team of undergrads. We've built this on our own. We've taken no Caltech resources or funding. We're not Caltech IP.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
How do you see what do you think the costs will be, and
Yeah.
how long does it last in the cow? Like,
Yeah.
do they have to be replacing it?
Yeah, sure thing. So right now, the cost, so I'll give some context. The cost to manufacture one of the devices we're talking about, right now between $10 and $12. We think once we do sort of mass manufacturing, we can get that lower to more like 8, 9, 10. We're planning to sell at 25 to 30 for the hardware unit. For context, the ear tags and collars, those range from about $30 to $80. So we're going to be undercutting or at the lower end of that. Yeah, sorry, did that answer your question, or was there another? Yeah.
And how long does it last?
Oh,
in the
yeah,
cow?
sure. So first of all, we can't tell you for sure because we're still developing the product. But what I can tell you is the number one issue is if the device is in the cattle and the device itself harms the cattle after being in there for a year. That would be a big no-no. But luckily, our device is encapsulated in PDMS, which is used often in sort of human implants. And that we're confident will last about 3-4 years, which is pretty much the lifespan of most of the cattle that we'll be going across. So we're confident that we'll have to sort of get the device to last as long as it can, but it's not going to harm cattle even if it stops working.
I think we're out of time now.
Okay,
Thank you so much. So I'd like to welcome MindMesh up, and they'll be presenting on their laptop downtime utilization to supplement AI processing power. Please join us.
More than half of the world's GPUs are idle at any given time. That's not just an inefficiency, that's a massive untapped market, and it raises two big questions. How do we harness this lost potential, and who do we empower it with? We're MindMesh, and we're here to give you some answers. Today's computing infrastructure is fundamentally exclusionary, with all the focus being on centralized servers, which charge thousands just to train a single model, and that locks out startups and researchers, as well as all the untapped power in their personal devices. And this is where the decentralized computing market comes in, where everyone or anyone can rent GPU access by connecting remotely to a device. And this is the stage where MindMesh plans to deploy its mission. What we're proposing today are two things. Firstly, a vision. A world where decentralized computing can power individual innovation by granting you access to industry-grade computing resources without the need of a data center budget. And secondly, a concrete step towards that solution. We're proposing a novel, smart algorithm that can drastically improve upon the efficiency of existing networks and truly make democratized AI a reality.
Secure, scalable, and efficient. This is MindMesh. So basically, we're collecting a bunch of GPUs worldwide. These are our nodes. And basically, we're creating a unified system, a blockchain system, whereby all of these nodes can collaborate together for fast data processing. And here is how we're very innovative. First, we have a smart task splitting schedule, which is AI-based scheduler, and what it does is that it scans the whole tasks and basically it splits it to multiple jobs. It sends them to multiple GPUs, and that makes the process way faster. Second, we have an AI-driven pipelining, which basically overlaps task stages like data cleaning, preparation, training, and more. And we also have the parallel code execution feature, which means that for the most important code, basically what we do is that we send it to multiple nodes, and then we get, and then the fastest node to actually finish the job reports back to the recipient. We also have other features such as the regional clustering feature and the federated synchronization trees, and also they allow for faster data processing. Now, on the security front, we've got you covered. Because first, we have ironclad encryption, which means all of the data is held tight. And we also have zero-knowledge proofs, which means the owner themselves of that node doesn't really know what is running on their GPU, which is kind of crazy, but it's amazing. Now, this is the right time to act. Why? Well, first, internet is way faster right now. Second, AI is booming, and because of that, basically we have a $50 billion market niche. So basically, the current cloud providers, such as AWS, are not able to meet efficiently and affordably these needs. Now, if you look at our direct competitors, which are also startups that focus on decentralized computing, then you're gonna find that these startups don't really match you with more of one or two nodes and cannot handle large-scale projects. And here is our pricing. So basically, we charge per hour reviews, so $2 $2 for top-tier nodes, 50 cents for mid-level nodes, and 5 cents for entry nodes. And we also charge for premium features.
We plan to gain exposure through pilot programs with research labs and startups, as well as with a clean web interface for individual access. And we will reinvest our revenues into enhancing this API, but also in improving our efficiency and scale by onboarding more global nodes.
We're basically asking you for a seed investment of $30,000, and it's going to be allocated as follows. Well, 40% is going to go for the development of our MVP, 30% is going to go for our beta program, 20% is going to go for adding more nodes so that we have a bigger network, and 10% is going to go for documenting our results so that we talk to more sponsors and get more funds.
MindMesh, invest in a future where innovation is accessible to everyone, not just the few. Thank you.
Judges, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much. It was a wonderful presentation. Could you talk to us a little bit more about what some of the hurdles or roadblocks or success metrics would be in the development phase? Because of course, I mean, notwithstanding other things, but it's a big part of the ask, right?
Yeah, so I guess here the key differentiator is that other people also thought of decentralized computing, but what they do is that basically they match you with only one or maximum of two nodes that match your needs. For example, I go to their website, I just put in my task, and what they do is that they have a smart contract that it's gonna allocate your task to one or two nodes, and they need to be in the same proximity. The problem is that this has not been very successful because like research labs and startups need processing processing power for larger projects. And this idea basically solves this problem, because here we're allocating the task to many nodes, and here basically all of that comes in the implementation of the smart contract. So what we're doing is that on the side we're using Python to develop an AI-based algorithm that scans the code, first see if it's parallelizable, meaning you can divide it in multiple batches, and second, can we use pipelining on that code? For example, if it's TensorFlow based, means it can be divided on a pipeline, meaning one for data cleaning, one for preparation, one for computing, one for training, and that saves a lot of time. And also, basically, we have the regional clustering feature, which means that we're not allocating nodes only on node capability, because otherwise you can have one in Japan and one in New York, and this gonna make you lose a lot of time. So what we do is that all of these, we group them together, and we use the federated synchronization tree, which also AI-based, means that when these nodes talk to each other about the progress they made on a certain task, they're not going to basically report every single detail. So we have another mini algorithm that's going to shrink the data to be transferred, and only the most important data is transferred between these nodes. They group everything together, and then it's transferred to the recipient.
Thank you.
Okay. And that's time. Thank you so much. Okay. Before we invite our next team up, one quick housekeeping note for the judges. If I could please ask you to speak more or project more into the microphone, that would be great. Thank you. All right, next up we have EchoBlue that's going to be presenting on their platform for early autism spectrum disorder detection.
Hi everyone, I'm Mila.
And I'm Samia.
And we're the founders of EchoBlue, an AI-powered ASD, autism spectrum disorder, onboarding assistant that provides insight that grows with you. Supporting children with ASD requires deep, individualized understanding, but critical knowledge is often trapped in scattered documents, unstructured notes, or the memories of experienced staff. Onboarding time is time-consuming, and information is fragmented across documentation, leading to missed insights and low continuity of care, especially as staff turn over. Introducing EchoBlue, insight that grows with you. EchoBlue is an AI-powered onboarding assistant that synthesizes ASD-related documentation like diagnostic assessments, educator notes, individualized education plans, and caregiver input into a dynamic, personalized profile of a child's triggers, interests, strategies, and milestones. As caregivers, parents, and educators upload new documents, the profile evolves and grows with you. EchoBlue also synthesizes all this documentation and even video into actionable insight that users can provide feedback on. It instantly integrates all of this information into a child's milestone dashboard, flags delays, and suggests personalized strategies, all backed up by caregiver evidence. Now my co-founder, Sami, will go into the model architecture.
Our architecture has 3 key modules. First, we start with milestone recognition, which flags if a child is on track or showing early ASD signs. Second, we have trigger detection, identifying stressors like loud noises or transitions using a multi-label classifier, extracting key semantic information from both modalities. Third, we have our strategy generator, which recommends practical caregiver strategies tailored to the child, with a feedback engine from caregiver input learning over time. Retraining models of the system becomes more accurate and personalized with each use. It's a living system, one that evolves with the child and the caregiver. Compared to other tools in the market, EchoBlue stands out in 5 key ways. It is designed for home use, not just in clinics, and accepts multimodal input, integrating videos with IEPs and clinical notes. Unlike static checklist apps, EchoBlue delivers personalized AI recommendations and supports caregiver training with actionable videos and demos. Most uniquely, it adapts. And according to PitchBook, one of our competitors, Cognoa, has raised over $103 million so far, suggesting in fact that this is a promising market.
In terms of market cap, in the US, there are about 7.8 million individuals with ASD, giving us a total addressable market of $7.8 billion. More specifically, there are 2.1 million US children with ASD, yielding a serviceable attainable market about $2.1 billion, assuming they charge $1,000. For a serviceable attainable market, we aim to capture about 3.5% of these 2 million children, or about 73,000 users, across schools, clinics, caregivers, and insurance providers. At a projected price point, we estimate a $73 million opportunity, even with modest adoption.
We're asking for $100,000 to take EchoBlue from MVP to real-world deployment. These funds will be used to secure high compute GPU resources, build a secure infrastructure, ensure IRB compliance, onboard caregivers, and form partnerships with trial sites. With this seed capital, we can validate our technology and prove our impact at scale.
Sami and I are both Caltech computer science students with strong backgrounds in AI, software engineering, and product management at companies like DoorDash, Verkada, Microsoft, and Apple. While we've interviewed key stakeholders so far, such as pediatricians, caregivers, individuals with ASD, and special ed educators, for the long term, we are seeking to build an advisory board of developmental pediatricians, special ed educators, and technical research advisors to ensure EchoBlue is truly responsive to the needs of children with autism. Now, if anyone in the audience has people in mind that we should talk to, we're open to suggestions and would love to talk to you afterwards.
In terms of our roadmap, by late 2025, we'll complete our MVP model training on accessibly publicly available data. In early 2026, we'll launch pilot sites. Mid-2026, we'll refine our system using this real-world data, improving our modules for our model development. And by late 2026, we'll launch our public-facing app.
EchoBlue is more than a product. It's a pathway to bring clarity, compassion, and continuity to autism care. Thank you, and a special shout out to Brianna, and Maral for their guidance.
Judges, questions?
Yeah, I could start. Thank you. That's really, really interesting. I'm curious, have you guys talked to or researched, the sort of data privacy aspects from persons who give support to these kinds of children and how that would interface with your guys' platform?
Yeah, so in terms of the training data, we'd be using publicly accessible data, so we'll be dealing with compliance at that end. In terms of, we talked to several trial sites, we talked to Bing, some pediatrics as well, and because a lot of the data we're getting is from people under 13, children with autism, under 13, we do have to, we have HIPAA compliance as well. We have to make sure that they have full consent on that end from the parents and individuals. So yeah, we definitely have to talk to the trial sites, which is why we're dedicating funding for that as well.
Thank you. At the beginning, you mentioned that one of the modules you have is diagnosis, but in order for a parent to get onto the platform, they would already have the diagnosis, or?
Oh, yes. So to have accessibility for the platform, we're assuming that they already have been diagnosed. Okay. This is more of a tool for caregiver training and providing modules for kind of seeing where they meet certain checkpoints and so data for milestones and training. Yeah.
Quick question. What publicly available data exactly on minors? I just want to get a good sense of that.
Yeah, so there's one called ASD Motion, which extracts key points of different skeletal movements and looks at different, hand motions, etc. That's typically associated with children with autism. There's also some IEP information as well and CDC checklists. So yeah.
Yeah, and no issues with informed consent because that's already data that's public.
Yes, so
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So luckily there's a lot of data publicly available, which is why we went multimodality, because there was a lot of video data.
One last question?
I have one last question. So thinking about the service providers for these children and thinking about the parents and your different pricing models, have you broken that out? Who's going to be your primary customer for this?
Yeah, so we have 4 different customer segments, like we said: caregivers, schools, clinics, and then insurance providers. To begin with, I think it'll evolve over time. We'll first start with trying to partner with clinics to begin with and go straight to consumers, particularly caregivers, to kind of prove a concept. Over time, though, we would like to partner with school districts. That may be a little more challenging. That's why we're going to probably do it a little bit later on, because continuity, the care, ASD care tends to be at the school district level once you get past the age of 3. Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite up next Memento, and they'll be presenting on their augmented reality glasses to support Alzheimer's and dementia patients.
Wow, this room looks much bigger from here. Okay, so we're Memento, and Memento means to remember in Latin, and soon you're going to find out why this is relevant. So on the left, you can see my grandma, and on the right, you can see all the notifications she sticks around the house. She has dementia, and this is a really growing problem for everyone. But it's not only is she suffering, we're suffering as well. The families are suffering. So we're going to talk more about this problem now.
So the problem can be broken down into 4 major subproblems. There's currently no modern way to keep track of things that they do. So pieces of paper around the house is not going to work. There's horrific communication between caregivers and family members. The costs are insane for caregivers, and these people can get quite lonely. So speaking more quantitatively, it costs $7,000 a month on average to take care of someone with dementia, which is just absolutely insane. And this is just because people are willing to pay any price to take care of their loved ones.
So what is the solution? The solution is we want to basically create an external memory, meaning we put AR glasses on a person and we capture everything that's happening around them. This way we can detect stuff like taking pills, faces, falls, but also we can alert families, and we think this is really important, having that 24/7 impact and knowing that your loved one is okay. And to be more specific, we're building software on top of AR glasses, so that way we can utilize all the glasses that are going to come out this year from Meta, Apple, Google, all of them.
But an idea is nothing if we can't build it into a product, and that is exactly what we are building right now. We are building a 200 times cheaper caregiver for people with Alzheimer's and dementia. We plan to service 3 main groups: the patients themselves. We plan to help them track activities, for example, turning on a stove, to help them follow up later. We also plan to help the family members by giving them timely notifications for emergencies that happen to their loved ones, for example, falling down. We also plan to help the caregivers by relaying important information, such as which pills the patient needs to take. And of course, with such a transformative product, we are sitting at the intersection of 3 main markets: the AI, AR, and elder care market. We believe that AR is currently, first of all, being developed by a lot of tech giants and also being empowered by AI to transform solutions to problems of ever larger magnitude, such as helping people with dementia and Alzheimer's. And of course, with this large market comes easily financial viability. There are 7 million dementia patients in the US alone. With a measly $35 monthly subscription, which will cover all of our operating costs with a $10 estimated profit, and with only 2% market penetration, we will be able to generate $60 million in potential revenue.
So with potential like this, we must have competition. This is the only company that's even mentioned something like this, and this is what they posted. This is completely unreasonable and is not going to work because they're trying to build everything from scratch. What we need to do is build on other people's platforms. These AR companies, they're launching glasses. They're trying to become like the iPhone in 2007. We want to capture that potential and build on top of it and be mutually beneficial to them. So here's the master plan. Next month, we're going to launch our MVP. Then over the summer, we're going to collect partnerships with these companies to get our app on as many platforms as we can. Then we're going to launch version 2 with more advanced agentic integration and personalization features. Then we're going to market aggressively through social media and conferences and establish ourselves as the new standard of elder care.
So what do we have now? We already have a super cool app which already works and can alert families, but we also have advanced algorithms which can detect, again, pills, taking pills, faces, falls, and we also have 2 partnerships. One is with an elder care facility here in Pasadena. We've talked with over 100 dementia patients and their family, and they really, really like our product. And we also got access to the Meta Aria glasses, which are giving only to researchers. So we're really excited about that.
Now, I will briefly introduce the companion app that we already have 100% built. So here are 3 screenshots. The left one is showing the feature that we will call event validation. So basically, whenever the glasses see an event that is happening or a to-do that the user should be doing, it will automatically take a video or photo and validate it and put it in the log. On the next 2 screenshots, we see a feature that we call Chat Assistant, which basically allows the family members and the caregivers to interact with what the user has done through the day, for example, what pills they took, what movies they watched, and so they, in this way they can connect with the patients better. And also not shown here is the feature that the Chat Assistant will also be able to connect with the dementia patients through a speaker on the AR glasses so as to solve the loneliness problem that was mentioned earlier.
But why tell you about the product when we can show you the product? So here I'm going to be taking medicine. The app can detect that through the glasses. log it, and show a video for confirmation. Another example is I might fall. These people are at high risk of falling. So I just fell here, and you'll see a notification pop up on the family member's phone within a few moments. And it'll show what happened. The family member can see if their loved one is okay. Another issue is there's lots of caregivers. You might want to know when are they coming in, when are they interacting with the user, things like that. So right now, Leo's a prospective caregiver, and I'm talking to him. And you can see the app can notice that and log it and pay attention to that. So any questions?
Thank you very much. A very important problem, and I like how you all describe the nexus of being at 3 different things. A couple quick questions. So the first is, I understand the agnosticism vis-a-vis hardware. I think that's really good for extensibility, right? But sort of transitioning a little bit into the cost of failure, right? Particularly with any multimodal input, no matter how robust your models are, no matter how well-trained they are, for situations like this, how do you guys think about, let's say, yes, a pill was taken, but instead of losartan, it was something else, right? Or are you using in your taxonomy, your definitions, round yellow pill, right? So if you could walk me through that a little bit, just to ensure, because the cost of failure, false negatives could be very painful, right? So.
Yeah, well, I guess at first it would be a more general model for just taking pills and maybe just following the number of taken pills. But as these models get more advanced, you can do more custom stuff. But really, like, these vision models are getting better and better every day, and we're already able to detect custom shapes. And I guess worst case scenario is you could just, for the pill example, you could come with the phone to the pills, you can take pictures and then label them, and that will already solve that issue. So there's really multiple attack vectors, but I think as time goes on, it's like the models are just going to be able to figure it out. We already have right now a really robust model which can detect pills pretty accurately. It's over 90%.
Thanks, guys. This is really, really exciting, super impactful. My question's more to do with kind of drilling down on exactly what your market's going to be, right? Because I think, unfortunately, there'll be sort of a cutoff to kind of the cognitive ability of the persons you're looking to help, right? At some point, they're just going to need the care. And so I'm thinking, have you thought about that? Have you thought where that cutoff might be and how that affects your market projections?
You want to go for it?
Sure.
Go for it.
So, yeah, we're going to be targeting people in the earlier stages of dementia, right? The problem is that once you hire a caregiver, the costs just skyrocket. It's insane. So we want to prolong that as much as possible. We don't want people to be hiring a caregiver if it's unnecessary. So that's sort of what we're going to be targeting here. Of course, as the dementia progresses, it might be necessary to hire a caregiver, but we really want to save people as much money as possible. And again, as Gavin mentioned earlier, we're 200 times cheaper than a caregiver.
Yeah, and I think that that's a real opportunity. You guys are going to be generating a lot of data that you can share with these folks, right? And help them understand where they're reaching that sort of threshold.
But to add one more point, and I think this is interesting, we've talked with a lot of people, and a big issue everybody's raised is loneliness. So these people, they're bored most of the time. And having this assistant in the ear, you can create conversations, which is actually interesting, like character AI, something similar to that, but for older people. And I think that's also a very impactful niche.
I just want to add one more thing as well. So if you look at family members, right, they're always wanting to know what's going on. They want to know, are they safe? Are they happy? Are they doing things they need to do? And this is one way to do that. It's live updates to the app, right? So there's a lot of value to family members with our app.
One last point, apologies. I would just like to, re-mention a statistic that I had earlier, which is even with only 2% market penetration, that's going to be $60 million in terms of annual revenue. So, yeah.
All right, that's time. All right, so we have a first for the competition where we have one team that has 2 ideas for consideration in the finals. So, once again, the same gentleman will be presenting on their second idea, which is Pathway, a platform to stream and automate construction permit applications.
Oh, you guys thought we were done, didn't you? Oh, we're just starting. So here's Pathway. We're going to revolutionize construction with a fully automated agentic pipeline that can take someone from a blueprint all the way to their final project. So what's the problem? Right now in the construction industry, the overspending is insane. Rarely will you find a project that actually meets the budget. And even permit delays, something so trivial, cost people $12 billion annually.
So our long-term vision is to create a model where we simplify the entire stack of construction, meaning you come to our website and you upload your blueprints and you're getting a price estimate. Right now, there's a bunch of middle things which kind of prevent this easy setup, meaning you have to give your blueprints to your architect, he needs to talk with a bunch of other people, and then in maybe a month or two, you're gonna get a price estimate. And we really wanna speed up that process because, again, time is essential in construction and most projects go over budget. But since this is a really big and long-term project, first we wanna attack another market, which is just the inefficiencies in the construction process itself. So imagine you're building a house in California. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of different vendors, a lot of different ways to buy brick, cement, but also to get workforce. And this industry, from what we've gathered and talking to a lot of people who turn over houses, but also construction managers, is it's not really digitalized. So this is not online. This information is not online, and you cannot get access to quotes quickly. So this is what we would do. We would basically find a way to digitalize and bring this all into one big database and utilize voice agents. So again, another thing we realize is a lot of these tradespeople, they're not really that tech savvy. They maybe finished high school, but not beyond that. And with these voice agents, we're able to call them, email them, which are the two methods of communication. They're online. And we're able to get that initial quote. And then we can perform deep market research for a specific part of building a house. For example, again, price of brick, price of laying bricks, cement, and just do that for every component of the house.
And now allow me to introduce the market opportunity for Pathway. So whichever way you're looking at it, we're looking at a multi-billion-dollar market here. The US construction market is currently standing at over $1 trillion, and the construction tech market is over $10 billion. Pathway aims to service everybody in this market. Our target customers include general contractors, subcontractors, developers, architects, anybody that can use a quick and easy and accurate price and timeline estimate. And moreover, with our agentic model, we can service small to medium-sized construction companies which currently remain severely underserved by these technologies. For our business model, we plan to use a subscription-based model. This ranges from freemium to enterprise, and the main difference between these tiers will be the size of the projects they can access. For example, if a personal user wants to use our software to build, their personal house, they might be on the freemium, more professional tier. While, for a larger project like an office building, that might go to the enterprise tier. This will, affect the number of agents that they can control, the number of documents they can process simultaneously, and also of course, the speed and accuracy of the estimates that they will receive. And I'll also like to introduce some of our competitors and talk about why we're better than our competitors. So, as you can see here, there's BuildPass, there's City Build, Procedure AI. All of these companies, they're more traditional, and they mostly focus on a single aspect, for example, like estimating costs or quality or scheduling. And moreover, they offer outdated interfaces with steep learning curves in the construction industry, and we plan to revolutionize that by using the latest AI boom and using modern interfaces and easy to use a user experience.
So this slide is a mess, but I think that's indicative of the current situation in construction. So you go from a blueprint, you give it to the architect, he needs to talk with the engineer, with the surveyor, with the city to get the permits. Sometimes you have to bring people from the environmental agency, and then finally you can talk with the contractor, which can then give you a price estimate. We want to cut that process and basically expedite it, and there's a huge, huge market for it. We're building like a search engine for construction, basically.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to develop the technology, the AI capabilities, the full pipeline. Then we're going to expand as much as we can, first to residential projects like homes or apartment buildings. Then we're going to grow our supplier network as much as possible. We want our users to have access to the best of the best when it comes to suppliers and contractors and permit management systems.
And here is our demo. So it has to be really simple because, again, people are not that tech savvy. You just type in what component you need, and it's going to find the quotes in the area. And then you can see the time, the price, and the quality, which are basically the three most important things for building a project. Then for the second demo, you can upload your blueprint, and it's gonna analyze it and extract specific components of your building, and then try to find, again, pricing and the total estimated price of the entire project. And it's gonna provide you with suppliers, and again, everything is in the box, meaning everything is verticalized at one platform. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you for the second presentation. Interesting. So we actually have a bunch of construction tech in our portfolio, and one of the main things we see there is long sales cycles and understanding when you have to integrate with. So are you replacing anything they're already using? Are you an add-on? Do you have to integrate to things they already have? How do you see that rolling out?
I would say we're more of an add-on, especially in the beginning, because we just want to bring those people onto the platform, and like, this is more like targeting maybe individuals and construction managers who want to build their house, because usually they spend more money than they could spend. And I think there's just a general price arbitrage in this market, because there's so many different providers of a specific service. And it's not like Amazon or some other search engine where you can see all the prices, right? This industry is not that digitalized. So I would say we're more of an add-on and just like to help these people, to aid them. That's short term. Long term, we want to tackle more of the entire stack of construction, meaning going from the blueprint to the actual price estimate.
Yeah, this hits home. I've built a number of homes in California, so that slide is very painful for me. Couple quick questions. So one, I probably wouldn't make the assumption that folks are Luddites, right? Because there's, you'd be surprised, right? I've worked with some people that are actually far more substantial than you would think, right? They just happen to like building homes. I like the price transparency angle, right? Because I think that makes a lot of sense. One of my personal frustrations has been, I'll get a quote, I'll go to the market, I've even like developed price indices, and it turns out that things are off 20%. But all of this is great, information is power, but how do you anticipate this empowering people to be better at negotiating? Because if you're dealing with a very large concrete supplier, you're gonna come in with information, but how do you anticipate that conversation going? Are you gonna reset price dynamics, right? Like, is that the goal?
So we've talked with some people in construction, and what they've said is the commercial, meaning like large projects, like building hotels or malls, it's much harder to break in that market. But for like residential homes, this is where the opportunity is. And for price negotiation, yes, this is true. We cannot get like really good price negotiation, but you can get the first initial quote, and then you can follow up. And if you have like a set of first initial quotes, you can compare them. And then again, through our platform, maybe you can start negotiating with individuals you want. But getting like that initial estimate, I think, is also super important and can help you find a better deal.
So maybe liaising with general contractors, for instance,
Yes.
sounds like a good opening salvo into this. Okay, gotcha, thank you.
I just want to say, like, this process is very complex. So what we're really trying to do is just streamline the process as much as possible.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, so we have Trace, and Trace will be presenting on their autonomous drones to detect crimes.
Hi, my name is Caesar, and I'm presenting Trace. So Trace aims to make community-purchased autonomous surveillance drones for crime deterrence. In the late 1990s, the average annual loss due to property crime neared $12 billion, with around 38% of that ever being recovered. This was a good opportunity for the security industry because businesses and homes were experiencing great losses with virtually no options for deterrence. So indeed, for the next 6 decades, the security industry grew rapidly, with now over 50% of the homes in the US having surveillance cameras. But one thing you'll notice is that the percentage of property value recovered has actually gone down. And in fact, the percentage of these crimes solved annually has gone down from 19% in the early 2000s to now just under 13%. The problem is that for those 6 decades, the security industry has relied almost entirely on the same concept: passively recording devices placed around your home. And for the purpose of deterring crime, it's a largely ineffective concept. Long response times from law enforcement mean that criminals have plenty of time to disappear, which is why year by year they're increasingly more comfortable committing crime on camera. To be a true crime deterrent, you have to guarantee apprehension. So this needs to be a proactive tool, not just a witness. And achieving zero discontinuity in this flow of information is how you get to solve and eventually deter 100% of these crimes. That is what Trace aims to do. Trace drones will hover over a neighborhood, which is hired the drone as a 24/7 guard. The drone comes down intermittently to swap batteries, and while it's up, it scans the neighborhood and censors all homes and properties. The drone will use a whitelisting mechanism to safeguard the privacy of all residents, and then use an LSTM, which is a neural network, to filter for criminal activity. This way, 24/7 monitoring is logistically feasible for us. Once a crime is detected, the drone enters following mode, following until apprehension, no matter how far, and relaying a real-time GPS ping to law enforcement. And this is how Trace achieves zero discontinuity, by being there at every stage of the crime, not just in the beginning. The go-to-market strategy will be to work with real estate developers, from whom we already have testing and purchase interest, by protecting their construction sites. Developers suffer from the lack of options in the security industry, much in the same way that HOAs do, but they're not too concerned about privacy, so we can tackle one big problem at a time. A system like Trace, including the drone and the automated maintenance landing pad, can be made for under $30,000. That's over a tenth of the cost to the HOAs in some cases, and around a sixth of the cost in most cases. Crime detection will be key to staying ahead of the competition. Every deployment is a positive feedback loop. We can gather more data, make the LSTM better, and thus get more deployment opportunities. So the earlier we start, the further we can stay ahead. And there are also crime displacement effects that will accelerate the adoption of Trace and make our lead even greater. The immediate market of focus will be San Francisco. San Francisco has the highest property crime rates in California, which will ease the adoption barrier. And California has the highest number of HOAs in the US, which will help with scalability. For this, we're asking $20,000 to $30,000. A lot of the software for the autonomy for the drone has already been developed, so most of this will be allocated for hardware. So building out the maintenance landing pad and upgrading some of the hardware on the existing drone prototype. And the rest will go towards pilot program expenses. We have a real estate developer that wants to test out this solution. So for this first pilot program, we hope to learn about the client-side experience, seeing where the engineering focus needs to be to make this as hands-free of a solution as possible. So we'll be just quantifying the reliability of the software and the hardware here. And with this solution, I think Trace could one day be well positioned to democratize peace of mind. Thank you.
This is really cool, but it's also kind of scary. Have you thought about airspace and people privacy? I know I shake my fist at the drones flying over my house.
Yes, we have thought about that. That is a very valid concern. I've spoken to many HOAs, board members, and residents. It seems like they're not entirely against drone technology per se, but more they're just kind of reluctant to believe that they can actually deter crime. And most of the times, it's the case that if you can convince them that they can actually deter crime, they'll be happy with doing that. As it relates to privacy concerns, Google Maps has a similar concern where they're driving cars everywhere, taking pictures of everyone's properties. So I spoke to an in-council attorney there, and we've basically confirmed have an extensive privacy policy, have opt-out clauses which are possible with our system, and just simply tell them what they're getting, and they'll most of the time accept it, and we're legally safe in that case.
Says thank you. It's a very creative idea. 2 quick questions for you. One is, so I live down in San Diego. We're very thankful that we actually have a airport noise curfew, right? So, noise question, right? How high do they fly? How much noise is it going to create? You have to run through decibel zoning laws. And the second thing is just the honest sort of question around bias. I think you mentioned when a crime is detected, right? So obviously racial bias, ethnic bias, there's all these concerns, right, with detecting crime. what if someone, is just walking down the street from one home to another, right? So maybe you could talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yes. Noise, they'll be flying 300 to 400 feet in the air. You can hardly hear them at that stage, especially if you use some shrouds over the propellers. That is largely figured out. So in terms of the crime detection, we'll be using a pose-based LSTM. They're not, you're not getting any facial features, you're not getting any skin. It's just purely the skeletal orientation of your joints. And there's always a human in the loop at the end that will confirm. The LSTM, the whitelisting feature, they only function to create a filter for the monitors. Otherwise, it's logistically not feasible. So it's.
Quick question. If the main difference of this versus using computer vision from security footage is that you can follow the person, most drones don't last more than like 30, 40, maybe 50 minutes, right? How do you deal with battery life, especially if it's already been maybe flying for 30 minutes when the person flees?
Yeah, you can get if you don't cheap out on the batteries and all that, you can get these to last around an hour or more in the sky. We're planning on using kind of 12S hexacopters that can stay up in the air for probably an hour and 30 minutes. And what will happen is these drones come down and they swap their batteries. So they detect a crime, they can come down, swap their batteries really quick. It'll take around a minute, and then come down and scan the area. And because they can fly so high and see such a large region, they can re-identify because the human monitor is always the one that's doing that monitoring.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to invite up our last team, MelanoMetrics, who will be presenting on the racially unbiased pulse oximeter.
Hello, everyone. Well, before I begin, though, I would like to ask you all an imperative question. What happens when technology can't see you? Let me tell you a story to better understand this question, though. Let's assume that a woman walks into the ER, she's out of breath, so the nurse clips a pulse oximeter on her finger, and the screen flashes out normal. She's clearly not feeling okay. She's out of breath. They diagnose her with hypoxia. However, how come the device can't see her? And that's because her skin is darker. Technology was not made for her. And so hence, as a result of that, we're dealing with an imperative issue. You see, this error is not just an error sign on my PowerPoint. It's not a glitch. It's an error that represents the problem that's been ongoing for these devices that has been affecting millions of people every single day in any context, whether it's in hospitals or whether it's in consumer wearables. You see, we can pretend it's not happening, or we can fix it. And at MelanoMetrics, we choose to fix it. So first and foremost, most wearable health tech, pulse oximeters, smartwatches, fitness trackers uses light to measure things like oxygen levels. But light doesn't interact with every skin tone the same way because of the amount of melanin someone has. And because these devices were primarily tested on light-skinned populations, people with darker skin tones oftentimes get an overestimation in oxygen levels. And the results, missed symptoms, delayed care, and preventable harm. And today, there is no real-time standardized way to measure or correct for skin tone inside these devices. And that's exactly the gap, and that's where MelanoMetrics comes in. Our solution is that we plan to create a software solution that makes wearable health tech truly inclusive by personalizing accuracy in real time. Our approach is built on a scientifically validated approach called individual typology angle, or ITA. And we use tiny RGB sensors. We objectively measure a person's skin tone, so there is no guesswork involved in that. Then our machine learning model dynamically adjusts oxygen readings based on the skin tone. And hence, it's real-time, adaptive, and it's built for everyone. Our method improves oxygen accuracy for darker skin tones, meaning earlier detection of hypoxia and better outcomes. And because it's lightweight, it's ready to be directly embedded into smartwatches, pulse oximeters, and future health devices. And after all, if your watch can tell you when to stand up, shouldn't it get your oxygen levels right too? So the global wearable healthcare tech market was valued at $61 billion in 2022, and it's projected to reach $186 billion by 2030, growing at a CAGR of 14.6%. Globally, pulse oximeters alone represent a $3.3 billion market today, expected to surpass $5.3 billion by 2030. This is a massive opportunity, but more importantly, it's a moral obligation. Regulators want it, consumers demand it, and device makers need it. MelanoMetrics helps them meet that moment simply and powerfully. And yes, bias in health devices is well known. It's been documented and discussed, but no one else is solving it like us. But at MelanoMetrics, we don't acknowledge the bias. We imperatize it, and we believe that it's the core mission. In addition to that, we use machine learning that adapts to the user, and we calibrate it continuously, not just once. And we design for real-time use, as mentioned earlier, and we hope to embed directly into consumer and clinical devices. This isn't about patching the past. It's about designing the future, where wearables actually reflect the people wearing them. That's what true personalized health looks like, and that's the future MelanoMetrics is creating. Finally, our milestones and use of funds. What we hope to introduce first is to model a simple pulse oximeter with machine learning integration into these devices with a breakboard to prove the algorithm works. Then we hope to develop an MVP that effectively demonstrates its accuracy. Then extend the technique to wearables, working alongside brands to provide solutions. And finally, expand the company into optical sensing by creating non-invasive, affordable devices that can be used to monitor health easily. So now I want to bring it back to you all. Please raise your hand if you know someone with darker skin. Now keep your hand raised if you think they deserve a device that works just as well for them as anyone else. Judges, these are the people we serve. And with your support, we'll build for them. Thank you.
Thank you, and very important problem that you bring to the table. I'm trying to understand who are you planning to sell this to the wearable devices that already exist, and why do you think that, why hasn't the sensor that Apple uses detect skin that's darker, and how hard is it for them to do this themselves, kind of thing?
So actually, I think Apple doesn't have an oxygen level sensor anymore because they got into a problem with the lawsuit a year ago. So none of the watches have that. So I think our customers are going to be a lot of Medtronics, big medical companies that also sometimes build pulse oximeters, but also Android, Samsung watches, because they currently have pulse, oxygen level measurement devices, but those are not good because even myself, I own an Android watch, and the oxygen levels are not good. They don't really account for this because I guess those companies, their focus is not really on the medical side. They only just want to build tech, but our company is gonna make sure that the things that they're building are also in the same level take care of the medical side.
Sorry, follow-up question. In terms of compliance, does something like this need to go through FDA and all of that, or not really?
Actually, FDA approved most of the pulse oximeters, especially the ones that are sold, are actually not FDA approved. Some of them are even if they are, usually the error is between plus minus 4%. So I guess our company is more a software-based company. So we're planning on working with other big corporations because we don't want to compete with them because there is no way we can compete with them. So we'll be working together with them to incorporate those, softwares. And I think if there is an FDA issue, then I think they're going to be the ones taking care of it.
Just real quick, I spend a lot of time in very extreme environments, very high altitude, very, very cold places. I have yet to find a pulse oximeter that works for me, by the way. So I know when I was suffering from mild hypoxia, I was not able to find one. So do you have a sense of a market being aligned, a potential market being aligned with adventure seekers, travelers. It's not just sort of the core monitoring piece, but perhaps focusing on extreme environments, right? So any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, of course. We also intend to also make sort of pulse oximeters that people can take home. So it enables people, like for example, such as yourself, in a way that allows people to use them in their homes or whether they're traveling.
And I guess to add on to that, the reason we are focusing on watches is because people can wear them, so you don't have to go to a hospital to get your blood oxygen levels measured. You can have it on while going to sleep or just going on exercise or anything, and it will keep track of your oxygen levels.
Quick question, just so I have got it clear. Good job, ladies. Is this a software that's going to be able to use existing hardware in these devices, or do you have to develop new hardware to be able to do this?
What we aim to do is create new software that is integrated into these already existing hardware. The only thing that would be minor, like a difference, would just be adding the RGB sensors. So we would just be incorporating RGB sensors in addition to what's already existing. And so with that, hopefully we won't be able to deal with a lot of the costs from that.
Thank you very much. All right, that concludes our presentations. A big thank you to all of our finalists. Great job, everyone. In the next portion, you'll get to vote on your favorite team, and you'll also hear remarks from last year's winners. And with that, the judges will now follow me and we'll go deliberate, and the winners will be announced during the reception just outside in the garden over here. And I would like to invite up Brianna Chu, who leads and helps support entrepreneurship here in OTT, and she'll be leading this next portion. Judges, if you'll follow me, please.
Thank you all for being here, both to everyone who's here in Chen 100 and everybody who's joined us on YouTube and are live streaming now. I hope you're all staying for a little bit. After seeing all these amazing presentations, we would like to invite you all to vote for your favorite team so that by the end of the next about 20 minutes, we can award a fan favorite. So yes, thank you. I see your phones out on YouTube. I hope you have your phones out as well. We're going to hear from a couple of our winners from last year. This is the second annual Bill Gross Business Plan Competition. So we're excited to be able to hear from a couple of teams to tell you about what their past year has been since they won their money. I'm going to give everybody at least a couple of minutes. I would love to see you guys vote. Oh, we've got some people in. Okay, I hope you have already voted, but if you're still voting, absolutely take your time. But I would like to introduce to you the CEO of encryptiest, Dylan Bannon, one of our finalists from last year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dylan Bannon. I'm one of the co-founders of encryptiest. We won a prize here last year, and we're very grateful for it. Our goal with encryptiest, just briefly, is to commercialize homomorphic encryption. That's a technology that can do lots of cool things. It can create private AI services. It can make safer methods of storing medical and legal data. And it can even do things like create anonymous targeting of online advertisements. The possibilities are pretty much endless, but I'm not here to talk today about the tech. What I want to talk to you about is what we've done this past year, what we've learned, maybe what we should have done, and what we're going to do next year. I know you're all itching to see more slide decks, but I actually just have this one slide. So this is going to be a verbal story time, so just relax. And yeah, let me tell you about our past year. So when we first started working on encryptiest, it was about 2 months after the pitch competition. We went full bore, coding day, night, typical startup thing. We thought we were real cool. We did end up building a minimum viable product for our chosen market, which was online advertising, and we were actually quite proud of it. After we were done with that, we started trying to get the word out. We went to startup symposia, we went to networking events, we talked with investors, and all of these outreach all of these outreach activities were great choices. We're very glad we got great mentors and other connections out of it. However, we also made one very questionable choice. We started speaking at this point to our potential customers. That's right, after months of toiling away, making our world-changing product in perfect serenity, we made the fatal mistake of contacting the people we expected to buy it from us. And that was just a huge mistake. Now, as any of you who have entrepreneurial experience know, the mistake was not speaking to the customers, of course. It was that we waited so long to do it. And so we found out that we had completely misunderstood our market for months, and that there actually was no interest in the thing that we knew was going to change the world. So this was kind of a setback for us. We thought, what are we going to do? We were confused, honestly, for a little bit. And we realized that our problem was not technical. We have the technical chops. Pretty much everyone in the room, you probably have the technical chops. What we didn't have was the entrepreneurial know-how. So what we did was we enrolled in an NSF I-Corps program. And I-Corps is meant to give entrepreneurial skills to scientists and engineers. And I personally can't speak highly enough of it. It was a great choice. But at the time, it felt kind of like an entrepreneurial 12-step program. We had to acknowledge that we had no idea how to commercialize our own tech. We had to humbly submit all of the assignments for the program. But in return, we were very richly rewarded, honestly. We learned a lot of really valuable entrepreneurial skills, things like what the phrase biasing a customer discovery interview means. That was a big one. But in general, we learned how to assess market demand without having to spend months building the product ahead of time. It's a huge boon. So after we finished the I-Corps program, we thought, let's investigate a market. So we investigated whether providing privacy services to the legal profession would be a good pivot. Thus began a glorious 6 weeks or so of vigorous handshaking and cold emailing in order to get conversations with our potential customers, lawyers. And we now knew how to do customer discovery, and we did it ruthlessly. We very quickly got into the triple digits, actually, with customer discovery interviews, and we've more quickly got into the quadruple digits with rejected requests for interviews, or unanswered requests often. But during this time, critically, we did no tech work. We took the better part of 2 months, just no coding. We did a ton of phone calls. We did a decent number of coffee interviews. And we even actually went so far as to fly to Chicago to go to an American Bar Association conference because that's where the potential customers were. And after all this hard work, what did we get? We got clear, unambiguous confirmation that there was no market there, which honestly was great. That's the second best outcome we could have hoped for. We're actually quite proud of how quickly and, importantly, definitively we failed with this idea. So on to the next one. Now, for reasons that I won't go into right now because I don't have enough time, basically our understanding of our issue is that we have a timing problem. We know we have world-changing tech, and we know it will be commercially viable at some point in the future, but we don't know when that day is going to be. And we're actually even more confident of this than we were a year ago when we made the first pitch. So what are we going to do with that knowledge? What are we doing right now? What we're doing for the time being is we're going to focus on open source projects. Basically, this gives us a chance to work on the things that actually make us passionate about the tech, so it's actually a win in that regard. It also gives us a way to build our company's brand, and it gives us a way, critically, to educate the public about this technology, which is one of our major hurdles. So specifically, we're currently working on a project that enables web servers to handle requests that are homomorphically encrypted, meaning you can request a web page from a server, and the server will never know what page it was that it actually gave you. Our ultimate goal is to encrypt all components of web traffic with these open source projects. And we know that our projects are going to bring an unprecedented level of privacy to the internet. And we do anticipate, actually, that the first truly private HTTP request, one that leaks no information whatsoever to the recipient or intermediary servers, in human history will be made sometime in 2026 using, in part, our software. So, thank you all for story time. We're absolutely stoked for our future and for yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dylan. Does anybody have some questions for Dylan? No? No? In which case, Dylan, thank you so much for your time. We love seeing you. See you around. We have next joining us Andrea Olsen, who last year pitched her health company, originally named Chiron, but they are now named Luria Health.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrea, and I'm the founder of Luria, which began exactly 1 year ago, here, at the Bill Gross Entrepreneurship Competition. My experience includes working in computational neuroscience here at Caltech, but I've been involved in longevity research since I was 14, and I've been working at companies including AI drug discovery, in silico medicine, for example, and also different venture funds, such as Frontier Ventures in Palo Alto. With all this experience, what I realized is that everybody wants to live. And everybody knows that to live, you have to be healthy. But today's medical system is broken. It's fragmented, and it's not geared towards preventing disease. Rather, it's geared towards waiting until the disease manifests and then treating it. That is not a sustainable approach. And this is what our vision is, to fix the medical system into working towards a preventative and a more personalized approach. So we've built 7 different products working towards optimizing the way that clinical workflow works and increasing the quality of care itself. Some of our products include a digital health ecosystem for industrial companies, an AI doctor co-pilot to help with decision-making when making diagnoses or recommendations, and a personal digital doctor app. So today's purpose is really to share the progress we've made since last year. We began in April with a proof of concept just before the competition. The proof of concept demonstrated that actually the idea that we had is viable, and it was validated at this competition last year by Bill Gross. We received 2nd place, and after that, shortly got a focus group of over 1,400 people. By summer, we started going to various events, such as Y Combinator, Techstars events, and also went to international conferences to pitch and to share about this product and to really find out what is the perfect market for us, where should we go. In September, we released our MVP, which was the product that we had created from the very beginning. It's a B2C app called the Luria app, able to track your medical records, explain them to very deep levels, and to be able to help you to make decisions as to which doctor to go, what to do, and what do your medical records mean. We also hired a core team of 5 engineers at that point and started kind of the real game. In December and January, we obtained funding for a runway of over 1.5 years. We got our first corporate client. It's got over 30,000 patients, which are now going through our B2B product. We established partnerships with various government representatives around the world and expanded to the EU. Now, in around February, March, and April, we expanded to another market, the UAE, and also hired 11 new people to the team. And really developed and finalized our B2B products, which you can see here. The medical ecosystem includes an AI clinical scribe, something that extracts key information from the patient's and doctor's dialogue, able to save the doctor over 50% of time. An AI chat consortium, which is a powerful mechanism for finding the most up-to-date and most relevant papers for the doctor based on their patient's profile, a smart EHR based on artificial intelligence, and some other products that are also still in development. Now, I want to speak to the founders in this room. You are the driving force. Entrepreneurship is not about taking things from 1 to n, like reinventing the bicycle and, it's about 0 to 1. It's about building something novel, which is actually going to bring value to the world. And one thing that I really like to think about, which personally helps me, is that your energy introduces you before you even start speaking. It's so important to show the passion you have for the project that you're working on. And I'd also like to say a special thanks to Bill, because Bill, this competition, it really laid the foundation to talking to other investors, to talking to key stakeholders. And it was a reason, at least for me, to take something that was just an idea to a level of production and to bring it into the world and make it real. So really, thank you for that. And we've also been very grateful for your advice, at least in the past year. It's been key to moving into new markets, into talking to new people. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, and I invite you to join us on this mission. Thank you.
Does anyone have some questions for Andrea? Oh.
I have one question. So it's actually really more about how do you make longevity more equitable? So right now, when we look at the longevity industry as a whole, it's really more calibrated towards high income or those with higher incomes, right? How do you offer products that are tailored to a wider range and essentially make it more equitable for a larger audience?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. And one of our biggest goals is to make this kind of new wave of medicine available to many, not to just the rich. And the way we're doing it is that we're talking to large hospitals which are treating patients of every background, and we hope to integrate our technologies into those areas as well.
Any other questions for Andrea?
I guess I have a question. Have you ever heard of Prospera, like the island of Argentina? It's called something similar. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like a
Sorry, Leo's question is about whether or not Andrea has ever heard of the island of Prospera.
No, so basically my question is, there's this new movement to kind of move drug development and access to these therapies, as he just said, away from the agencies like FDA, EMA, and to make it more more fair and more accessible to all the people. So I was just wondering, what do you think about that? Is the future with these agencies or not?
So my point of view is that everything that's brought to the clinic, everything that people are meant to take as pharmaceutical treatment, for example, has to be very strongly validated. There is a good reason for why there are so many medical and regulatory checks. And my belief is that there shouldn't be very constraining things on novel technologies, such as artificial intelligence, because that helps drive innovation. But there should be good regulatory practices to make sure that the people who take medicine, for example, are going to get healthier and not worse because of it.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Andrea? All right. If not, thank you so much, Andrea, for your time. And our final presenter is Aaron Zhao from Viriya, here to talk about his company's last year.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron, Caltech senior and also co-founder and CEO of Viriya. Last time I was here, we were pitching a carbon accounting and building management solutions platform. And oh wow, a lot has changed since. So since the competition, Viriya has made some really big strides, thanks in large part to the support from Bill Gross as well as Sunstone. Speaking to our design partners at Caltech, Berkeley, UCSB, we found that ESG analysts specifically really have a few more specific pain points than what we initially hypothesized. For one, they're really drowning in fragmented data, they're overwhelmed with really repetitive tasks, and a lot of their day is filled with time-consuming but ultimately uninteresting reporting cycles. And so we naturally made the pivot to make Viriya an ESG analyst co-pilot. And so our platform can now interact, or analysts can interact directly with documents using natural language. So they'll be able to ask questions, pull insights, and really find the information that they need without digging through endless PDFs. On top of that, we built autonomous agents, sort of utilizing the emerging language models that have emerged over the past year to draft deliverables, automate a lot of the repetitive tasks that were described, and connect with the tools that these teams already use, like Power BI, Tableau, et cetera. And all of this is backed by seamless integration to make sure that the data flows cleanly between Viriya and the rest of the stack for these ESG data analysts. Here is sort of an MVP of the platform that we've spun up. This is sort of just the initial slide or initial landing page that you'll hit, where you'll be able to upload files to interact with. And so ultimately the result is that analysts will spend a lot less time wrangling spreadsheets and more time producing the kind of thoughtful ESG reports, as well as investor analysis that will actually drive decisions. And again, none of this would have been possible without funding from the competition. Over the past year, we were able to invest in powerful dev tools like Cursor, Augment Code, Klein, which really seriously cut down on build time. Sometimes mid-conversation with our design partners, we were able to spin up MVPs to give people a sense of what functionality would look like. And that flexibility was huge for us. It helped us move really fast, stay close to our customers' pain points, and ultimately turn that insight into a product much faster than we ever could have hoped to otherwise, even last year. And so this would be like a sample output of like a analysis that we asked it to do. And I guess where do we go from here? So currently the plan is to work on Viriya full-time this summer after graduation. We're a team of seniors, and we're actively exploring funding opportunities to support the next stage of growth, be it incubators, raising from VCs, or something else. And we also realize that ESG and ESG analysts specifically is a pretty niche but powerful beachhead. And the reason we chose this ultimately is due to a couple of reasons. One, we know this space really well. We've been working in sustainability for most of us like 3-4 years of our entire college careers and have extensive internships and backgrounds in the space. Two, the need is immediate, where our partners just don't have anyone building vertical AI in this space. And so that we realize that it's a really powerful beachhead, but ultimately it's quite niche. It's a pretty small market, especially in the backdrop of this macro environment. And so we believe that the opportunity set ultimately is much bigger. The core problems that we're solving here, navigating dense institutional knowledge, connecting fragmented data tools, as well as accelerating repetitive workflows, apply across the board for these business intelligence analysts in general. And so in many ways, ESG is just where we're starting. Finally, the funding from this competition helped us reach this inflection point. It allowed us to validate this need, rapidly prototype these solutions, and shift from initially a pretty broad, amorphous vision to a high impact product. And now we're excited to take what we've learned and scale it into something much bigger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. Does anybody have some questions for Aaron? No? No? All right, in that case, thank you, Aaron. And thank you again to all of our speakers for talking about their experience from last year. All right, well, the votes are in, and I'm very happy to announce, can I have an impromptu drum roll, please? Our fan favorite award goes to MelanoMetrics. Can you please stand up, you guys? Congratulations. Thank you, everybody, for voting. Thank you all for being here. The reception is going to take place out here in the upper garden. Can you please make sure as you head on out that you take all your belongings with you, because Chen 100 is going to be closed after. Thank you so much, everyone.